Friends, we have made it to day two.
Day two.
Episode 303 of the Casual Hour. This is our final day of categories for our Game of the Year 2022 coverage. If you are finding this episode first, a few things to let you know. Go back, listen to 302. We had a really robust conversation. It's just a short 3-hour episode. Get through that.
I would say you should actually really go back and listen to all 300 previous episodes before you even get to those.
That's the real feat. All 300, listen to all those, then come back to this one. All joking aside, go check that episode out first, then come back to this one. Tonight will be the heaviest spoiler episode of the year from us. We're going to talk about some
big spoiler tags on this episode.
Big spoiler tags right now before we even get into the category.
If you haven't played every single video game in 2022, click off this right now.
Leave. Just get the fuck out of here already. Tonight, you're going to be hanging out with me. I'm Bobby Pease. Joining me, as always, is Chase Kinnicky. How are you, Chase?
Doing well. How are you, Bobby?
I'm fantastic. And Johnny Amizich, how are you?
I'm doing well.
All right, everybody touch gloves. We're going to have a good, fair fight. No below the belt. As we get into these categories tonight, Best of the West, Best Moment or Sequence, Best Debut, I Wish I Liked It More, Overachiever of the Year, Touchy-Feely of the Year, Most Impressive Early Access, and our Most Anticipated for 2023. Anything that I am missing before we get into the nitty-gritty of this show?
I think you're good. I think we can jump right into it.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's get into it then. Let's talk about Best of the West.
Yeah, why don't I present this one? Because you're going to have to do most of the heavy lifting here, Bobby. We made a joke during some quick looks that we did this year. Because Bobby played a number of games that all had West in the title. Specifically, games that had 2 words, and one of those words was West. But we also fudged another one here for the category. So I just wanted to know, because Bobby played all of these, and Johnny, you played one of these?
Yes.
And I played none of these. So Bobby's really the only one qualified to talk about this. But Bobby,
definitive voice on this.
I want to know what your Best of the West is for 2022. Is it Evil West, Hard West 2, Weird West, or Horizon Forbidden West? I know those aren't in alphabetical order, but I wanted to get the...
Yeah. I'll tell you what it wasn't. It wasn't Kanye West.
Ooh, good call.
Certainly not the Best West. Worst of the West.
What about Best Western though?
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to
as much. Hotel.
I'm going to take out Horizon Forbidden West because
I think that's fair.
I think it's fair.
It's filler for the category.
This is a tough one because these each had a layer of charm to them, and it was a very confusing but also a very good year for fans of Westerns. I'm going to give this one to, I really liked Weird West. I had a blast with Weird West. I think that the way that they allowed you to go back and so it was an anthology game, and you got to play as a bunch of different people in a connected world. And the first time you get to the second character, you can go back and take your first character on as companion, and you can have 3 people in your posse, and you then get to you can recruit people, but everything that you had from money to weapons to abilities comes with that character as well as some of their story. And I found it so fascinating how they did it. The game's not free of problems, but it was a really cool, fucking weird West. I'll tell you that much. So
and you know what? This year wasn't as complicated as Outer Worlds versus Outer Wilds. I at least know the difference between these games just by looking at them. But yeah, it is funny that so many 2-word games that have West in the title showed up here.
These are all really good games that you should play. Like
that Hard West 2 quick look that we did was awesome. I've downloaded Hard West 1 on my Switch. Hard West 2 is not on the Switch yet. And I think I may have also purchased Hard West 2 on Steam. All of these things are possible.
There's a lot. There's a lot of things.
That game did look cool. And I do want to give a quick shout out to Evil West. That is the latest of these games. And we did a quick look at that one, and I just thought that thing looked pretty cool. I mean, it looked pretty thin as an experience, but a fun, thin experience. So
absolutely
good West games this year.
Yeah, totally. That brings us over.
Easy. All the categories are going to be this easy, right?
Yeah, totally.
Certainly.
So.
This next one will be no problem.
Oh my god.
All right, the next one we have up is our best moment or sequence. Before I run down this list, which is short, would one of you two fine gentlemen please tell the audience what is the best moment or sequence category?
Yeah. Johnny, you want to give it a shot?
This can be a scripted event that happens in a game, like a moment in the story that is particularly poignant. It can also be more of an organic moment, that not every person is going to experience the same way. But just a moment that happens in a game that you're like, oh fuck yeah, this was great. This is one of the coolest things that's happened in a game to me this year.
Yeah, we stretched the definition a little bit. Like, it can be like a full level of a video game. Like, if you can justify what a moment is exactly, I think we're open to it.
Yeah.
It's having some kind of slice of a video game though. You can't just say Elden Ring was my moment of the year.
Yeah.
You gotta give it to something specific within the game.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the validity of these things as we go through them. But usually it's more of like a line or a cutscene or a level or something like that.
Is our audio working good? We haven't checked on that. Everything good on our audio?
Yeah,
okay.
it was.
All right, let's run down this.
I did freeze for a second.
Okay.
I did see that, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. Fingers
All
crossed.
right, fingers crossed. It's all fine, folks. You are fine. Grab a blanket. You're going to need it. All right, first up, we've got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. First successful exfil from the DMZ. The next one up is Cult of the Lamb. Johnny Eats Shit. Dwarf Fortress.
Interested to hear more about that one.
Yes. Dwarf Fortress, the massacre at the Painted Merged outpost. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Then we get into some Elden Ring. We got a few of these. Ancient Spirit Fight. Getting to Crumbling Farum Azula. Sofria River Valley. We then switch over to Far Changing Tides, Seeing Red. We've got a handful from God of War Ragnarok, Be Better, Brock's Blessing, Meeting Thor and Odin, Starting Ragnarok. This is what Sorry looks like. We then go to Grounded, moving into the new base, Wolf Spiders, am I right? We then have Hard Space Shipbreaker. Hey Cutter, want to see something special? We've got a handful from Horizon Forbidden West, Flight of the Sunwing, Leaving the Tall Neck Cauldron, Meet the Zeniths, The Lights of New Vegas. We have two from Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Carby, not Kirby, but Carby, and then Kirby's Anime OP. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Meet Edge, Marvel's Midnight Suns, Hellride hitting everyone with a fucking car. We've got a handful from Norco, Bring Out the Clown, Staring Contest with Monkey, Stop Petting the Cat, The Hot Dog Incident, and Whooping Troy's Ass. We then have a handful from Stray, B12 Opens the Doors, Catnaps, Tell Them I Was Brave, The Paint Can Incident, and then Jamming with Moruske. We have Sniper Elite 5, Shooting Hitler in the Dick, always a good time. We have the Playdate's first boot up sequence. We have 3 entries for Tunic, first time using the guide, the Ziggurat, and Wait You Can Warp.
Ooh.
We got a lot here.
How do we want to approach this?
Here's the thing. I would, because I don't have a lot of moments on here, I would kind of love to hear what all these moments are, but we don't have time for that shit. So I would say, do we want to do it similarly to what we did before, where each person nominates a small handful, like three moments or something that can get discussed? Or
I think that's super fair.
Okay. Do we want to do like a one going away 1-2 like we did before, of like, hey, this is our honorable mention, it's not going to make our top 9? All right.
Oh, that's great.
I don't know if I necessarily have 4 that I want to talk about, so I might gift mine to somebody, but I'm going to kind of combine 2 of the ones I put on there, because I think they actually do work together. I had the 2 Kirby ones. Kirby is something that you see, that you get at the beginning, near the very beginning of the game. It's the moment they showed in the Nintendo Direct where he sucks in the car and now he's Kirby. Right after that, though, leads into Kirby's anime OP where he is just the car and he's driving around. So I think they're both similar. So I'm just going to say Kirby's anime OP because it includes the Kirby stuff.
The song that goes with it as well, right?
The song is great. Everything about that moment is great. I love it. So
moment. Yes.
You want to put a little asterisk behind that for us?
I'm actually going to move these to the top of the list. Perfect. So we have an easier way of seeing them.
All right, Johnny, how about you go next and pick an entry here?
I feel like, man, Notion is being very, very undude right now. Bringing Out the Clown from Norco.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Oh, it's very good. I also have one for Norco, and mine is the hot dog incident.
Okay. I guess, John, that's fine.
Yep. Oh, sorry, Chase. Were you gonna do all of them?
I can do all of them. That's fine.
All right, I will leave it alone then, because it's acting real jumpy for me.
Fair enough. All right. Bobby's taking the hot dog incident, also from Norco. I'm going to include the Playdate's boot up sequence. The first time you boot up a Playdate.
Absolutely. Johnny.
I think Sophia River Valley from Elden Ring.
Okay. God damn. I'm gonna put Tunic first time using the guide.
I'm glad you picked that because that was going to be one of mine.
Yeah,
that's a good call.
And
let me
back
see
to you, Chase.
Yeah. I don't think I nominated any more of these, so let's make sure there's one that I at least know of that I like here. I mean, I don't know if this one's actually going to win, but I think I was at least there for Johnny eating shit in Cult of the Lamb, so I will throw that one up there.
Hey, any chance you get to see me eat shit, you'll take.
I see it every Wednesday night.
Okay,
Good.
I'm not going to nominate this one. I just need to tell you guys about it really quick.
Okay, please do.
So the Dwarf Fortress one.
Yeah.
So I've been spending a lot of time playing Dwarf Fortress, and tonight I finally had the moment where it all kind of clicked. Like I've been just figuring out like the basics, right? Like, okay, these are the things I need to do. This is how I keep my dwarves happy. This is like figuring out like how the fortress should be laid out, all that stuff. So one of the mantras of Dwarf Fortress is losing is fun. And last night I saw that
we are the casual hour. We know this
in action. So I was in a fort that I started yesterday, and I had a couple of people get killed by these giant blue jays, but it was outside my fort. Then some migrants showed up, and it boosted my population, so I had more dwarves to do more work, and I was like building a tavern, and I was laying things out and getting all these rooms organized and building furniture for all my dwarves, and I was just like, this is going really well. This is the best run I've had so far. And then I notice I get every time like there's combat or like when your dwarves dies, you get a big red alert button. And I noticed that my population had dipped by like 3 dwarves. I was like, oh, that doesn't
3
look
dwarves
good.
down. Yeah.
I was gonna say it.
Yeah, 3 dwarves down. So I go. You can when that alert comes up, if it's like someone died, you can click and it takes you to their location on the map. And I do that, and it takes me like 3 floors up on my fortress, and there are these giant tropical birds that have broken into my fortress and are just butchering all of my dwarves.
Nice.
and I'm just helpless to watch. There's like, seriously, it's just like pools of blood and these birds just moving around, and all these dwarves try and come and attack it, and they just get fucking brutalized.
All right.
There's only
That
one
sounds
left.
pretty fucking hysterical. These big ass birds eating these dwarfs. Jesus
They were
Christ.
lovebirds. They were lovebirds.
They were loving it.
All that was left was this
So
one.
you're not
dwarf.
picking that though? You're not picking it?
I loved it, but I don't know.
This is your pick.
Okay.
You have a pick, so you can either that. You've got a lot.
If you want it up there, you can have it up there.
Let's throw it up there. Anyway, so but this happens, right? There's only one little dwarf child that has survived, this dwarf girl, and I watch her maneuver around these giant fucking birds, go down to the living quarters, and then just go hide down a hallway. And then I watch the birds go down to that level and just sit and wait.
God.
Wow.
And eventually she's decided she's gonna go out fighting. And that was how my fort was massacred. And it was great. I was laughing so hard, and like it just because I've been reading stories like this, right? And wondering like when is something like this gonna happen to me? And last night, buddy, it sure did. So that's one of my favorite things that's happened this year.
That's awesome. That's a really fucking crazy thing.
You know, I've got a late addition to the moment or sequence. I would like to add 3 dwarves down to the best moment or sequence of the year.
Good.
That's pretty good.
You know what? In the future, we should definitely have like a best named podcast category.
Johnny and I were talking tonight too.
Indulgent one, but that'd be a pretty fun one.
I like that, and we've never done anything around best performance either.
Yeah, that one's always so hard to judge. I
Most
mean,
impactful
I'm
performance.
I'm happy to try it.
Yeah, something to think about for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bobby, I think you get one more
This
nominee here.
I would like to recommend God of War Ragnarok meeting Thor and Odin.
All right. And I gotta say, I don't have anything else here that I even know about or understand. So if one of you two wants to do, I mean, if you both want to do 2 moments that you want to say, wave a fond farewell to, you're welcome to.
Johnny, I will let you go ahead and wave fond farewell. You can pick 2, and then I'll do 2.
Okay. There were so many from God of War. That whole game is just full of moments.
It's very, very good.
Brock's blessing was an incredibly powerful moment in that story.
Who's Brock?
Brock is one of the dwarf blacksmiths, the blue one.
Another dwarf down.
I love dwarves.
This man loves dwarfs.
But there's a point in the story where Kratos has to go and forge a new weapon that is powerful enough to take on the Aesir gods, and they're having this talk about how every weapon needs to be blessed by, a blacksmith, and Brock finds out basically that he had died, and his brother retrieved 3 of the 4 pieces of his soul from Helheim, but he didn't get the one that basically would guide him to the afterlife if he died again. And so he's processing all of this in this moment, and you're taking this underwater elevator back up, and Kratos basically says like, this needs the blessing of a great blacksmith, and Brock is obviously he's confronted with this thing about his identity, and
it was so well done. I mean, it was incredibly powerful how they did it.
Yeah. And from Elden Ring, the ancient spirit fight that happens in the Sophia River Valley, and it's not even the most challenging or fun boss fight in a FromSoft game, but it is one of my very favorites because it's in this giant battlefield, and it's this gigantic like stag skeleton basically, and this music with these strings winds up, and it's just, I don't know, it just really, you're sucked into that moment as it's happening because you're in this magical space that feels very like mystical and ancient, and you're seeing this thing that's been lying dormant for however many years, and then you kill it.
Fair.
So that was one of my favorite things this year. There's so many more I could pick off this list, but
yeah,
those are.
I'm going to give an honorable mention to two games here. One, for best moment or sequence, I'd like to talk about Far Changing Tides. So, Far Changing Tides is the sequel to Far Lone Sails, and Lone Sails is more it's not really automotive, but you're on a train on that first one, and you're working your way across. Plane is red, and you get to the end of the game, and your vessel is on death's door, just really fucked up, and you're trying to get to a point where you light this fire to signify your location, and your character is left by the fire alone with no vehicle. That was their home. Their house is gone, and the camera just slowly pulls out, and that's it. Far Changing Tides is a game where they bring the same mechanics in. You have this really cool airship / boat that you are maintaining and moving. You've seen these games in action. I think both of you have. It's
still linear. You're still going from left to right the whole time, but it is less on rails, like literally on rails, because you have a vehicle that can move in different forms and fashions. Yeah.
All kinds of crazy shit's happening in Far Changing Tides. You're doing the whole left to right, moving there. You're getting where you need to go. All of a sudden, you go into this port with your boat, and the fucking world rotates. And now you're going right to left. And it's this really crazy moment that happens. And you start to see the smoke and you hear this noise, and you realize, I'm getting goosebumps. You realize that you have found your sister, and you have this reunion at the end where they basically have them meet up, and you see her sitting by the fire, and you found her with your boat. And so, goddamn, I hope like hell that they make a third one that is co-op with both of them trying to figure out what the fuck to do now that they've been reunited. It is one of the most powerful, just like, because that was my character. Like, I got to see myself where I left off in this first game, and you don't really know how it's going. You didn't know there's going to be a sequel. It's kind of you don't know if there's hope at the end of that first game, and they don't do anything throughout the whole game, and don't even tell you that you're related. You see some pictures and stuff, and you kind of start to put it together if you played the first one. It's just very well done, and it's just a nice touch of tying two very cool games together. The other game I want to talk about is Stray. I want to talk about B12 Opens the Doors. So heavy spoilers again, like everything else we've talked about. B12 is your companion in the game, and you find out through the game that, and this is going to spoil it, so I'm sorry, Chase. B12 is actually a human that has had their conscious transferred into this. They didn't know about it. They learn about it with you. It really fucks them up. The entire city the cities and the location have been locked down due to a virus that has broken out. And the whole mechanism to keep this from spreading was to lock everybody in. And because of this, that's why there's no humanity. That's why it's weird, because you fall into this city as a cat and everybody's like, what the fuck? There's nothing living here besides the virus. All the way you're figuring out more and more about the history of like how humanity fell. And it was really fucking crazy just on, surviving a pandemic and knowing how divided people were, and just seeing how this was one potential outcome in this game of like a pandemic. All that to be said, there's an issue with the generator, and B12 has an ability to generate power. And it's a moment of self-sacrifice that happens with B12 to essentially open these gates up to this community. And there's a moment where B12 falls, and as a cat, you've seen cats, how they cuddle and do things. B12 passes away on the floor, and you as the cat walk up, do the like little circle and plop down, and you are cuddling with the shell of B12 as the gates open up into the city and light hits it for the first time. It is just an astounding moment, just incredibly powerful, very well done. And it is a dark ending. It's not a happy ending for a game that is very, it's like one of those pop songs that has incredibly dark lyrics. You know, like it looks good, it feels good, but man, the messaging coming through is fucking grim. And it was just really awesome to see how they handled that. It was cool. So
nice.
Fond farewells. Thank you for the extra one there, Chase. I was really not wanting to have to kill my darlings on saying goodbye, but we do have to kill some darlings because that's who we are and that's what we do here. So let's talk. You want to give a quick reading of the will of what we have to get through here?
Sure. Our 9 finalists are Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, Kirby's Anime OP, Norco's Bring Out the Clown, and the Hot Dog Incident as 2 separate ones. The Playdate's first boot up sequence, Elden Ring's Sofria River Valley, Tunic, The First Time You Use the Guide, Cult of the Lamb, Johnny Eating Shit, Dwarf Fortress, The Massacre at the Painted Merged Outposts, and God of War Ragnarok meeting Thor and Odin. Can we just give like a quick discussion of what Johnny Eating Shit is, and then we'll cut it?
Yeah. So you can name all of your cultists and Cult of the Lamb. Johnny is one of those. All the cultists eat and shit all over the place, and you have to clean it up. Somebody in the cult came up to me and was like, "Hey, it would be really funny because you can cook shit and feed it to them, and they get sick." And they're like, "Hey." I really think that you should feed Johnny shit. And I was like, oh, you didn't have to ask me to do that. So I make up Johnny the hottest bowl of shit I can, feed it to him. He gets so sick. He gets out of commission. He eats it for breakfast. He immediately pukes and has to go lay down. And the person's just crying, laughing at what happened to Johnny. It gets better. Johnny gets healthy. Like, look, that was hysterical. I gotta see it again. Will you feed him shit one more time? And I'm like, no, yes.
No.
So I give Johnny shit again, and he gets sick again and dies.
He just eats it. He doesn't question the damn thing.
He died. Yeah, he died.
Shit poisoned me?
What?
You were shit poisoned.
What species was Johnny? Do you remember?
Johnny was. You were a narwhal, or he was a little fox.
Turtle?
No, I'm sorry. No, he was a pig. Johnny was a pig. Of course he was a pig.
Of course, absolutely. What else could he possibly be? All right.
He was happy as a pig eating shit.
It's a fun moment.
Obviously.
It's a fun moment. It's more of a personal moment for us. I mean, that moment can happen to you in the game, but you have to name all your characters Johnny to make sure it happens. But I think that was a fun one, but probably doesn't belong on this list. Really, it's just one of the ones I kind of knew about.
I could not move forward without it being on here in some capacity.
Yep.
I'd like to talk about the hot dog incident in Norco if I could.
Yeah, I played Norco and I apparently missed this. I thought I was doing it, but I apparently didn't.
All right, Chase, my friend. Do you remember there was a guy that when you were playing as the mother that was selling the old gray hot dogs, and then you gave the hot dog to the guy
who's just like super peppy and is like, oh yeah, business is gonna pick up. Oh, I haven't sold one of these in like 7 years, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you feed that hot dog to somebody, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
If you come back, which you will, you see that guy, and he's basically like, "Don't talk to me." Like, I don't like you. Yeah. The guy who ate the hot dog.
Okay.
He proceeds to tell you, he's like, you don't want to know about it, and it gives you the option.
He gives you like the Haribo gummy bear, a 5-pound bag of gummy bear Amazon review of it.
What happens to him? Yes.
Yeah.
And so he talks about how this hot dog essentially gave him explosive diarrhea, and he didn't know what to do. And there was some sort of like dance or event or prom or something. And he sneaks into the limo on the other side of the kids and just shits all over the back of this limo. And while he's shitting in the back of the limo, the driver gets back in the limo and he takes off and he's calling somebody. He's talking about how bad the car smells. Then the guy stops, like, do you even want me to continue telling about it? And you're like, yes. He's like, you're a sick fuck. Like, why would you want to hear about this? And you're like, just tell me. And he's like, tell me. He's like, I was rolling around and I had it all over. I mean, it is like, at this point, and this has never happened to me in a game. I'm in my office right here where we're sitting, crying from laughing. I was laughing so hard at this, and that's like humor in video games is fucking hard. It's tough. It
rarely
sucks.
works. The timing is so hard to make it work. Yeah,
and this came after some pretty heavy shit in the game. He ends up,
yeah, definitely,
yeah, literally.
In more ways than one, yes.
I don't want to talk about it too much more, Chase, because I know this is a spoiler cast. You can find this clip on YouTube. I would love for you to experience yourself the rest of that. But
I just might do that.
Yeah. So the hot dog incident is very fucking good.
Does that mean we're keeping it or we're cutting it?
We can cut it. It's not the best Norco clip, but it's certainly one of my favorites.
I do like the other Norco clip quite a bit.
Oh yeah. Johnny, why don't you go ahead and talk about one of yours that you're going to cut?
Yeah.
Or any that you're going to cut, that you nominate to cut. We're in a cutting time at this point.
So I talked about this a bit on Monday, but there is a moment in Elden Ring where you can happen upon an elevator and it takes you 30 seconds to go all the way down, and you get there and it's this valley underground that is full of stars. And it's
very cool.
It was just that game is full of these awe-inspiring moments for me, but that one is probably my favorite from the whole game.
It feels a lot like a moment, and I've never seen this moment, so again, the Elden Ring probably pulls it off way better than the one I'm thinking of, and I don't even really like the one I'm thinking of, but it reminds me a lot of the like when you go in Skyrim and you go down and you see the dwarven ruins when you go underground. You're like, wow, I didn't even realize there was this whole world under here, and look at all this crazy architecture that's going on. And it's a neat feeling, even if I find Skyrim to be kind of boring otherwise.
It's tucked away, in the woods like this.
Is it something you can completely miss? Like, could you beat Elden Ring without playing this part?
Yeah,
that's cool. You could miss it entirely.
It's like those have you seen those sculptures of wizards that are holding like crystal balls with like two dragons wrapping around their body and like just weird mall shit,
their orbs or something like that? Yeah,
that like this is one of the most fucking metal fantasy ass locations I've ever fucking seen. I
love it. I love it so much. And we obviously this isn't something I would rather it be something that we all experience or we can all appreciate on a deeper level. So I'm fine cutting it. It's just, I love it. I love that game so much. And I'm fine cutting it from this list.
Looks like it's the Siofra River and not the
Sofria.
I mean, I'm looking it up here just to see what it looks like, but
wow,
Siofra.
Wow, I guess you didn't even really like it.
I misspelled it. Okay.
I'm going to talk about God of War Ragnarok meeting Thor and Odin, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I've gone back after playing this game and I've watched this scene probably a dozen times because I think it's just that fucking well acted. It opens up, you're at your house, roof gets blown off, lightning strikes. Thor's silhouette is out front like the ending of the first game. And then there's some dialogue where he comes in and you get to see Thor for the first time. And all of a sudden he has this crow with him that shows up. Then there's another knock on the door shortly thereafter. And this person that you haven't met yet shows up and the two crows fly into his arms and disappear. And it's Odin Odin is voiced by Richard Schiff. And you've got Ryan Hurst, I believe is how you say his last name, who's voicing it as Thor. And they have this moment where you're expecting this big bombastic battle, but you've got a very frail, very, very frail old Odin who's basically saying, in the most like greaseball fucking grifter way, why not just have peace? You stay here, don't fuck with us, we won't fuck with you. He's trying to cut a deal with the God of War, and all this shit is just really fucking crazy, but you could cut the tension with a knife. It reminded me so much of that opening sequence in Inglourious Bastards, where they're hiding beneath the floorboards, and Hans Landa's having the conversation up above them. It just felt like this is going to go terrible. And mind you, it goes terrible. But that whole conversation leading up to the bad was just some of the best video game acting I have seen. I was just reveling in how well they were owning it. The whole thing was great.
Yeah. Richard Schiff just absolutely just chews up all the scenery.
He does so good.
He's so great. Definitely one of my favorite portrayals of Odin.
Oh, yeah.
Outside of like Bad American Gods, I think are my favorite.
There's better for me. There's better moments. This was up there though for me, but I'm happy to cut this if we are in agreement.
I mean, yeah, I'm fine with cutting it. I never saw this moment, but
we can let that one sit for a little bit longer.
What are we? Yeah, like what? I'm kind of questioning what is going to win this thing. I really like the Kirby anime OP, but it comes at the beginning of a game that I am kind of not so hot on.
I think we're all kind of whatever about Kirby.
I mean, yeah, I had a great time with that. Kirby, I think, is one of the coolest moments of the year. It was a big, cool moment. We all had a bunch of hope for what that game was going to be when we saw the Nintendo Direct. In fact, like I would say, the Nintendo Direct is probably the bigger moment than even the OP of the Kirby game. It's just that's where the thing happens.
Can you guys tell me about the Playdate's boot up sequence?
Sure. You open your Playdate. I guess I
could just watch a video of it, but
you could. But so you open your Playdate up, and if you're like me and Bobby, then you plug it in, or actually, then you try to turn it on, and you get scared that it's broken, and then you plug it in, and are still scared that it's broken because it still won't turn on even when it's being powered, and then you realize no, you just have to let it charge for a little bit and then it'll be fine. So once you're past that incredibly scary moment when you've been waiting for this piece of technology to come for months and it finally shows up and isn't working, when you finally get the thing on, it just goes through this incredibly well-made package of like an opening cutscene of all the little internal workings. Yeah, it's got a tutorial for how the buttons work and how the crank works, and just giving you an idea of how everything kind of functions together. And it's all like faux industrial, like Dr. Seuss industrial kind of stuff of look at these hands coming from everywhere
Inspector
and zigging and
Gadget-esque.
zagging. Totally, absolutely. It's got a bunch of fun sound effects to it. It's just very it's very exciting, and it was the best moment I had with the Playdate, because then once you get to it, then it's like, okay, well, now it's a Playdate, and unfortunately, and we'll talk about this later, I think 2022 was just not a good time for me to have a Playdate. The timing was off in that I did not have many situations where I could go out and have those 5-6 minute breaks where I could go, oh, this is the perfect time to pull my Playdate out and play a little bit of that. I didn't have that. I was at home working from home the whole time, and if I had 5 spare minutes, I'd watch a YouTube video or I'd do something else, and so that part made a big impression on me, whereas the rest of the Playdate offering did not, which I think makes me think about it even more fondly. But I think we can still cut it from this list. It's a very cool moment, and that's nice, but it's kind of a one and done thing.
Yeah,
you should actually go on YouTube and see.
Actually, Johnny, I would encourage you not to do that. When we get together over the holiday,
I just watched it.
You can play. You can play the boot up sequence over again anytime you want to from the settings, and I would just let you borrow my Playdate to check it out.
Yeah, it's neat. It's a neat thing.
So I wanted to get you two to weigh in on the guide from Tunic, and I'm so impressed with it. I just want to put this out there really quick. It's a very ongoing thing. It is, in a lot of ways, the game. And the other piece of it is it requires a lot of effort to see the entire guide. A lot of effort.
Yeah. And I think once you realize what it is, it's more exciting thinking about what it is going to be.
Yes.
Which is
Well, you know what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't pretend that it's not a guide for the video game. It's just a guide you cannot read, or
Right,
Yeah.
but I mean,
you
like,
cannot completely understand. And then as
seeing-
you play the game,
Yeah.
moments of that click into place, and you go, "Oh, that's what that meant." Or aren't there like little scribbles in
yes,
it as well?
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
there's little added touches to it. Like, I think Bob. I don't know. It's definitely
so well done,
yeah.
and
It's one of my favorite things this year.
It is tough because it is a moment, but it is a constant barrage of moments.
and
that,
to be
like Bobby said, it kind of is the video game.
and to be fair for us, we gave best style on our last episode to Tunic, and I personally
Wrongly, but sure.
I feel like that was by and large the guide had a very heavy hand in shaping that style.
Definitely.
So I'm going to painfully cut this one, but also recognize that I had so much fun the first time I got to see that and just pouring over it. And I know that both of you really think that's pretty kick-ass. It's one of my favorite things of the year was that guide. Like, I fucking adore it so much.
It's kind of like Johnny said this on Monday, but you said you wanted like a physical copy of the guide, and I know a lot of people do, and that there are physical copies out there. And while that's cool, I kind of don't understand why you'd want that, because it seems like the point of the game is having the little things reveal themselves as you play. And so like having the full physical thing feels like you're kind of, it's not what the game is giving you. What the game is giving you is so cool already.
It's something that guide means a lot to me.
Yeah, like as a token of, oh, I played that, and less of I want a physical guide to play the game while I have it. Yeah,
not using as a reference, but like I want a copy of Arthur Morgan's journal from Red Dead Redemption 2.
Totally.
Like, but only because I experienced that story. I saw all those things. I would like to be able to flip through something. Yeah,
I got you. All right.
So if I had to guess here, I would say that we are down to. And sorry, Johnny, I love your story, but I think it can go. So we're God of War Ragnarok meeting Thor and Odin, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Kirby's anime OP, and Norco bringing out the clown.
It's Norco, right? Like it's just Norco.
That's my pick.
Yeah.
Fucking LeBlanc, he owns it.
It's
just a thing that happens. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, what do you mean? This is just my kit work.
I think Chase's issue is going to be my same issue.
Go ahead.
You've already blown the image. Or what are you going to do? Just reuse the image again? We use the same image of the kit work.
Yeah. I
mean, it's a great moment.
Yeah. It's
how do you feel, Bobby? Like, I'm fine leaving it up there.
Roll the clip.
What if you just mirror the image?
There you go.
I mean, there's other parts of that. Like, honestly, I probably there's a secret. So here's the thing. All right, you can play this game without him having the fucking clown makeup on him. What we're talking about is when you're in his office, he's got this thing on his desk, and if you just ask about it, he'll be like,
well, also, to give a little bit of context, like, it's the beginning of Act 3, and a pretty traumatic thing has happened at the end of Act 2.
Yes.
And you wake up in his office. He's found you. He's brought you to his office. You've met this guy like once, and he was kind of a piece of shit.
He makes you buy him beer to get information about your mom.
Extorts you, basically.
Your dead mom.
And he also complains about said beer as you're giving it to him. Yes. And then he wants French fries, and then he also complains that he doesn't like French fries, but you bought them for him anyway. Yeah, he's a real dick. But now he saved your life, though. And you wake up, and he's joining your party here, and you're trying to kind of help me. But he's also talking about the only reason he found you is because he takes dumps and he spies on people while he's taking dumps out of his window.
Yeah, because he's like, yeah, people can watch. I don't give a shit. And then it's just because you can ask about the bathroom because it's right there.
All this stuff is happening. All this stuff is happening. But then, like Bobby said, you notice on his desk is this makeup kit. and you can ask about it.
You don't even know what it is at that point.
Yeah, you can. It's just a selectable item, and you can pick it. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's just my kit work." And then you can kind of pry a little.
He's
further
like, "Forget about it. Let's move on." You know, don't.
And if you mention it again, he's like, "Oh, I mean, you want me to clown up? Well, I'll clown up."
He doesn't even say that. That's the best part. He just like, you want to do it? He fucking does it. His picture disappears and it comes back. And Chase, what is it?
He's full juggalo. He's
I gotta tell you, my jaw hit the floor with a velocity when that happened.
It's so good.
And the best part of this, you can skip that and not go about it, but every encounter in Act 3, which goes some places in Norco, your boy LeBlanc is full clown makeup and all these. And there's one other moment that he's at this spot and he's talking about where he used to come and hang out here and all these things. And there's a fucking massacre that had happened here, like brutal massacre. And while this guy's telling him about it, he's dressed up as a clown. He's like, well, what, did they mention me? Did they say anything about me? And like, what were, and like, I can't take it serious because he's dressed up as a clown. And then the absolute best of all this is when he dies and he's just this clown makeup dying. Holy shit.
It is good. You know what? I feel like we probably should give it to something else though. Like he's our best new character, and it's because of moments like that.
Yeah.
But
here's what I would say.
Yeah.
I know we're gonna fight between Kirby and God of War. I loved that opening sequence of Kirby. What followed it really bummed me out. We'll talk about it later. I'm willing to negotiate as Odin did if we have to here. It's a very good sequence. Like, I'm not here to diminish that opening Kirby sequence is good.
It is really good. And I think even more than just the moment as you play it in the game, for us specifically, it's, I mean, super specifically inside baseball, like we're watching the Giant Bomb talks over the Nintendo Direct at that time.
Yeah.
And we're watching like somebody like Jeff Gerstmann while he's still there, watching that sequence and going, oh, look at that. Like everybody's so fucking excited about Kirby eating the car and not quite swallowing it like Kirby would be able to do with literally anything else he's ever tried to eat. And now he's just stuck on the car and he's just and the car's just driving around and people are asking, how the fuck is he driving this? Is it his tongue? Is there a little man in there driving the car?
Oh, you know Kirby's driving with his tongue. That fucking sicko.
It's such a fun moment of everything that's going on. It happens right at the beginning of the game. There's so much promise to it, and yes, I don't think the game delivers on that promise basically ever again. But that moment is just so fun and was such a big moment for video games this year. I
can't speak for Johnny, Chase, but if people have not made it to episode 300 yet and they're still working their way through the back catalog, you're going to come to last year's Game of the Year episode, and you're going to come to this category, and you're going to hear Chase, for the second year in a row, bring a terrible video game with a very good moment. And the last year's one...
What was last year's?
It was the Sword and Sorcery Brothers follow-up. It was their opening.
The Far Shore.
Whenever you're leaving. And we had a big conversation about, like, I just can't get on board with how bad that game shit the bed. I kind of feel bad about it in retrospect because I know you really liked it. Elephants never forget, and people the size of them don't either. So,
man, Bobby, you've been making up for lost time this year. Like first you give me Into the Breach, and now you're giving me Kirby. Johnny, how do you feel about that? I mean, I know you played God of War Ragnarok, and I assume you like the moment as well.
If we're not giving it to the clown, I don't really know who we're giving it to, so I'm fine with it.
No,
it's a good sequence.
We all were super jazzed about that, and for the record, I don't think Kirby and the Forgotten Land is necessarily a bad game.
It's not. It's a fine game. It just missed us.
Yeah,
or at least missed me and Bobby, and I assume
we're Jet's a bad game.
Rated on you.
But that was a moment of pure joy.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Look, video games.
Also, this moment is immortalized a little bit in one of my screenshots of the year that you'll see sometime this week. I took a screenshot from that I really like. I just think this is a fun moment. It's a great moment for video games.
All right, guys, we did it. And I'll tell you what, there were some good fucking times this year in video games.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least that was our only long category of the night. That's never gonna happen again, right?
I think
with a nice easy one now, finally.
Right.
Well, I think this can go a little bit easier.
Shall
Johnny?
Shall I read down the list here?
Please, Johnny.
Yeah.
All right. This is best debut.
What is best debut?
Best debut means this is a new IP. This is not a sequel to an existing series. These are wholly new games.
Chase always uses an example. Is it like Star Wars? Is that what he always picks on when we do this? Like, it can't be like Star Wars isn't new.
Do you want me to just be a real dick right now and go, if your game has Iron Man in it, it's not a fucking new IP, and then cut 2 of the nominees on this list? We can leave them on. I understand why they're on here. I'm just saying.
Well, it's not if it was an Iron Man game. Well, that's not. Yeah, I mean, like this. I think that these are different.
So if you think those are different, I'm putting Pokemon Legends Arceus on here, and then that wins.
I mean, you can put Pokemon on here.
I don't think that belongs here. It's a Pokemon game. Pokemon's not a fucking new franchise.
But that
Legends
Legends is.
It's wrong. Like, this category is built to. I feel like the spirit of this category is to give a moment to say, look at this brand new thing that this company made. Like, we still have, like, there's all these Assassin's Creed games. There's always another Call of Duty coming out. There's always so many of these franchise things. Here's a totally new idea. And we just don't get that in games that often. And I think that's something to be celebrated. So if it's a new game that also just slaps on Marvel characters, I think that cheapens this category for me. I understand. I like Marvel Snap. I kind of like Midnight Suns, the bit that I've played. They just don't feel like the spirit of this category when we're putting them up next to something like Norco.
Why don't we
go down the list? Go down the list. They might not even make it based on all the other games that are on here, but it's always been my feeling.
Okay, here we go.
And he has a lot of those.
20 minutes till dawn. A little to the left. Apico. Arcade Paradise. Baron Breakfast. Koromon. Cult of the Lamb. Elden Ring. Evil West. Hard Space Shipbreaker. Cardboard Kings. Marvel's Midnight Suns. Marvel Snap. Neon White. Nobody Saves the World. Norco. Patrick's Parabox. Pentiment. Point P. Power Wash Simulator. Patrick's Parabox for another time.
The game's so nice they named it twice.
Please Fix the Road. Strange Horticulture. Stray. Stacklands. The Steam Deck. Symphony of War. The Nephilim Saga. Teardown. Tinykin. Tunic. Weird West. Rollerdrome. The Case of the Golden Idol. The Outbound Ghost. Tim Tim. Trombone Champ. And Vampire Survivors.
I feel like the alphabetizing kind of got fucked there at some point.
Yeah, maybe we didn't get all the way through it, but
that's all right. All good. I think this is a good list. You want me to tell you? 10 Minutes Till Dawn was a demo that came out before. I'm kidding. I'm so kidding. 20 Minutes Till Dawn can stay on.
God.
Elden Ring is really just like Dark Souls when you think about it. It probably should just be off the list.
I was wondering if that was going to come up.
No, I think that I can't argue against that one.
Yeah,
I don't think it wins, but it is a new IP.
Why don't you think it wins?
It's definitely a new IP.
I'm not going to convince the two of you two.
You're not. I think you could get it to the top 3, but I don't think you could make it win this category.
And it's not the one I want to win this category. So.
Well, then, fuck it. It's not even going to make top 3. It's dead right now. I'm killing it.
Should we just mark it off?
Elden Ring is the first game to get crossed off of best debut.
God.
How are we going to do this
time? I think we have to do it the same way as before. There's just too many games on this list. We got to do the 3
So we each pick 3 and then we say one fond farewell.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'll start. Tinykin. Tinykin makes the list.
Okay. Johnny?
Vampire Survivors.
Okay. Let's see here. I'd like to nominate Hard Space Shipbreaker.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just realizing I didn't put Citizen Sleeper on here. I don't think that would get my vote, but it's just weird that it's not on here. I'll throw I'll throw a Norco on there.
Okay. Johnny?
Stray.
Okay.
You late edition adding ass. Not Stray. But Bobby, I saw that.
Not everything. There's some issues with copy and paste. Tunic.
Okay. Man, I don't know. I would have said Vampire Survivors, but that's already picked. Oh, sure, of course, Neon White.
Okay. Johnny.
Well, all the other ones I wanted are up there, so I'm going to put Elden Ring up there. It's unremoved from the list.
Well, I'm
We've already
keeping it crossed out, but I will add it to the top list.
Okay. Let's see here.
You voted for a lemon there, Johnny.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's the last one for me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to nominate The Case of the Golden Idol.
I think that's a good pick. All right, that's our 9. I don't believe Johnny said Grounded when we gave our nominees, and I think I saw that Bobby added that later. So want to give it its credit. I also want to say early access last year, so I probably would have fought you on it a little bit. So I'm glad you didn't try to fight for it. Yeah. So now we've got some to say farewell to, and
it did hit early access last year, but it did come out in this calendar year.
Yeah. I get you. It's not.
And same with another one on here.
You could make an argument. I would just also make a counter argument to it. Yeah. Let's see here. You know what? You're not gonna expect this, but I'm gonna say a fond farewell to Patrick's Parabox, which broke my fucking brain to the point that I felt I needed to purchase it. Bobby played this on a casual Monday, or maybe we did a quick look first, and then we did it for a casual Monday, and it scarred me looking at this thing. And like first, it's just like, oh, this is like a Sokoban thing. Sure, okay, you're just moving boxes, whatever. And then you can go inside the boxes. Like, okay, that's a little something. You're going inside the boxes and doing like Sokoban within the box, and then you come back out. That's a little weird. And then it just keeps going and keeps getting more and more complex. And you can leave the boxes in through different openings and come out of a different box through that other opening. It is absolutely that same style as Baba Is You, that is just melting your brain as you play it. And I felt like I was bad mouthing it during the quick look and during our casual Monday, where I'm just like, I hate this. This is fucking terrible. But like, I hated it in the best ways, and I ended up downloading. I ended up playing not a ton of it, but I played a good portion of it and had a really good time. I think that's a very cool game.
It's very cool.
I think a lot of people missed out on, or a lot of people just looked at it and went, oh yeah, I played Bob Is You, and then didn't play Patrick's Parabox. And I think that's a mistake. I think people should go and play Patrick's Parabox.
I wish it was on my phone. I think it'd be a perfect phone game. Being able to just like move that around, slide those pieces, I think it'd be fantastic. I wish it was there, but it's very cool.
So that's mine.
Johnny, What do you got for us?
Um, I feel like if I had played more Pentiment, I probably would have fought for it to be on this list because it seems extremely cool. And the hour and a half I spent playing it,
Yep.
I really, really enjoyed. I think it's doing a lot of cool, creative things, and it's amazing that it even exists. I think.
Yeah.
So
It's awesome. One, I think that's
I played like an hour and a half more than you did, and I feel the same way. I
Yep.
wish I had played more of that game so I could have stronger feelings on it. I mean, I know I fought for it really hard when it came to best style, and that is something that I feel like is more instant to look at and go, holy shit. But to know whether the game itself is awesome and good, I wish I had played more of it to really know that.
Yeah. I'm gonna say goodbye to Tim, a game that I had a huge impact from. I think being a Pokemon clone in some ways is a really tough thing. We've talked about that this year, and I mean, one of us still feels that's true. The other one is a little bit more surprised. But I'll say that Tim surprised me that it was able to captivate the spirit of Pokemon during like a Game of the Year season where 2 other Pokemon game come out. This one really did some amazing things. It was an early access game. It was one that like got me to basically into this weird fucking pit that I'm in. And so to see it, what I mean by pit, it made me get a PC. And when I see it now and knowing that it's all there, I have a blast with it, and I think it's really cool. There's other games for sure, but Tim made a pretty big impression on me.
Yeah, I think the balance just was off a little bit to me. Like some of the sliders didn't feel right to me when it came to the amount of damage your Temtem was doing. But like those are small things that matter, but small things in comparison to how much of that game they got right, and also doing something very unique in having everything's a double battle. You really have to use strategy to play this game way more than you would when you play a normal Pokemon game in a normal way. So for that, I give it its props.
I would like to
9.
cut hard space.
Why? Why would you do that?
Because there's other games here that I think have a better best debut than hard space. I will.
You sure about that?
I am sure about that.
Wow.
I will. I mean, look, you can fight with me on it. There's other things on here that I feel. Hard space is a very personal one for me. There's a few that are, but I will honor what you said earlier with this. And we've talked about it. The impact of that game was not felt at strongest for me this year.
Okay. All right.
And
I'll give you that.
Like that game, I'm riding that high still this year. Like I adore this game. It's an incredible game. But there was a period where like that game was brand new to me in early access, and I was like, holy shit. And like the biggest compliment I can give this game here is there's a whole section we're gonna get into that's about early access that I sponsor because I'm a big whore when it comes to early access games. I fucking love them. I usually play them until I've gotten through what it is, and then I come back to it in 1.0.
So Johnny doesn't finish games. I don't play games, and Bobby only plays unfinished games. It's really the holy trinity of the casual hour.
We're terrible people.
It works well.
But I have continually played this game since my first time playing early access on it. It's never left my hard drive. I love this game, but I had the biggest impact from it when it first came out, and that's a very personal stance on that.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a game I started this year, started only a handful of weeks ago, but it's one I've watched you play on multiple streams and really love the atmosphere that it's got. I love just the calming nature of it, even though it's also a game about punishing stress.
You could die at any moment. Yeah.
Oh
and you're just in incredible debt the entire time. That is backbreakingly impossible to get out of. But it is, man. I like Pentiment. I wish I had played 40 hours of this game so I could really fight you on this and go, no, actually this game deserves to be number 1. But
why don't you just leave it unchecked then?
No. I think you're right. There are just other games that for all three of us, I think are stronger for this category. But I think Hard Space Shipbreaker is a really cool game.
I agree. And if we change our mind near the end of this, I'm fine with that.
Okay. I'm gonna cut Tinykin. I think Tinykin is
a cool game.
Rad. I think
a cool game.
I mean, a small spoiler here. It's in my top 10. I adored my time with Tinykin, but I think there are stronger ones here.
It's a neat game for sure. Johnny?
Yeah.
Who you cutting besides Elden Ring?
Does it have to be one I picked, or can I?
No. We're all cutting here.
You can make an argument for anyone, but anybody can also make a counter argument.
What about Neon White?
Get fucked. That's my counterpoint.
I think Neon White can go.
No, it's not. 2
out of the 3 say bye, Chase.
What is wrong with you people?
It doesn't make the best debut out of this list.
I mean, this is all about nitpicking, and
you guys picked the wrong nits.
All the stuff outside of playing the game, I think is tolerable to bad.
Yeah, agreed.
And it brings the experience down. Like whenever I wasn't going through the levels trying to break my time, when I had to go back to the hub and like talk, and like it's just it wasn't doing it for me. I think that game is incredible in motion, but it's when you have to stop and talk.
And there's a lot of it that's not in motion.
So I think Neon White is an incredible game. But this is all about like Elden Ring. To be extremely reductive is just Dark Souls 4. Never mind, they rewrote the script for open world games and the medium going forward. But
you're the one who got Elden Ring.
I know, but as I said, this is just a fight I'm not willing to have because I know it will be ultimately fruitless. So yeah,
I mean, I would have expected a bigger fight for Tinykin over Neon White from you, but I did not expect you to even really perk up this much over Neon White being cut. That's interesting.
Neon White rules. I agree with the things that you say. I just don't come to the same conclusion. It's the gameplay of Neon White is so
good. It's great.
Much better that any of the cons get immediately wiped away because of how fucking cool that game is on every other level. But yeah, we can make a bad decision here and cut it. That's fine.
I'm going to cut The Case of the Golden Idol. That game had a really profound impact late in the year. It, I felt, was doing some very cool things, both with art and the technical aspects of you're picking apart scenes, you're collecting information on it. I think it's highly original. And when I think about the spirit of this and what we're going for, I think it really does a good job of it just feels like a game that has made a very big impact in the area it's come out for. Like it's just a really cool. I haven't beat it yet. I want to beat it. I think everything it's doing is fucking impressive for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Agree. I mean, the game I like the best that's still on here is the one I would cut next, and that's Vampire Survivors.
You.
I mean, I'm doing it because it's been out here for a long while. Like it's that game. I know. Again, it hit 1.0 this year.
It didn't come out until this year.
There was the browser version in 2021.
Yeah, it came. Yeah, it came to 1.0 in
2021.
Actually, this came out, if I remember correctly, we didn't talk about it a lot last year because didn't it come out one area like December of 2020? Like I thought that this game's been around for a while. I think it did.
I think it did too. I think this
2020?
game's
When
yeah, I think
this
so.
game came out, we were talking about it around Game of the Year that it was playable, but we had found out that, or we started playing it past that point. It came out around Game of the Year,
It
I
was
think.
early access December 17th of last year.
Yeah, that's what the Wikipedia says.
Okay.
Which would have been after, like either after or during
It was
Game of the Year.
today's the 4th. It would have been, we would have been to our top 10. The categories would have been done.
Yeah, I mean, games that come out in December in any form or fashion are difficult. Like the Crisis Core game just came out yesterday from when we're recording this, and I mean, I don't think that it would have won any of these categories or anything, but it's not nominated, and it won't be nominated next year because we're not doing like it's a 2021 or it's a 2022 game. We're not nominating it for anything.
Can I?
I think after, if a game comes out after we do our deliberations, it should be able to qualify for the awards next year. That's how any other awards show works.
I get why you're saying that. We've never fought for it in the past, and I don't see why we'd fight for it now.
Well, if a game comes out and it has, like, if it's that impact on you, then yeah, I'm not saying Crisis Core would, but I don't think that we should say no, it's disqualified just from the jump.
So let me just. Can I float something by you two?
Please go for it.
All right. I know that we're cutting Vampire Survivors. It sounds like I'm going to cut Tunic.
Wow, I don't think we were ready to cut Vampire Survivors yet, but I like that you did it. I like that you just said it's fine.
I mean, I'm outvoted, so
no. Hang on. Here's what I'm saying. When I think about best debut for the casual hour, when I think about all of us here in the representation of us as a group, we all have had a really good time with Norco.
Yeah.
And I think that like Tunic and Stray are incredibly important games to me. Like, so is Hardspace. I love Norco as well. You all know that. But I think we've all had a lot of good discussion as a show about that game. I'm not super hot on Vampire. Chase, you never played Tunic. Johnny, I don't know how much you enjoyed it. I love Stray. I think Johnny loves Stray. Chase is Stray adjacent. But when I think about our show,
I mean, Norco is going to be what I suggested.
I feel like that's a good representation. I'm just willing to make some cuts on my end if that's what you all feel.
Yeah.
I think Norco's fine. I don't think I think Norco is a mostly acceptable game that has a handful of incredibly strong moments that elevates it more than the rest of the game does, and I think the rest of the game is adequate.
But you liked the romance stuff in Neon White?
I like parts of it.
Okay.
I thought like some of the characters in there. I mostly focused on Neon Red. The other characters I didn't really like that much, but I liked the dialogue between Neon White and Neon Red. So I liked seeing those story elements. Yeah. I liked doing the challenge modes, which is a separate thing from the normal modes. Bobby, you even said that was your favorite part of the game is going through and doing those challenges that force you to play the game in an entirely different way. That you look at them and go, "This is impossible. What the hell? What the hell were they thinking?" And then you start messing through it and learning how they actually want you to get some of these concepts that you can then take into the main game and have a great time with it. I mean, there's no point in me arguing for Neon White now. It's not coming back, but I just don't feel strongly about either of these games. I at this point I'd much rather bring Hardspace Shipbreaker back. I'd much rather bring Elden Ring back at this point. At least somebody feels super passionate about that one, where I feel kind of apathy for these two when it comes to a best debut. I don't know.
I mean,
if you guys feel super strong about Norco, that's fine. I like Norco. I just don't love Norco in the way that you guys did.
Well, this is a tough junction. I know Chase is. You're very bummed. I get it. Neon White. I
just want the world to burn. I want everybody to hurt.
I
like I do.
I mean, I can play some of the levels between the levels of Neon White, and I'll hurt if you want me to do that. Like,
yeah, spikes, so many spikes.
um,
if you guys feel super passionately about Norco, where like that has to win this category, then I'll back off. But if we're all saying Norco's the choice we can agree on, then I think we can have a better fight than that. I think we can have a better debate.
I'm trying hard to not become overly passionate about just how much I like that game at this stage of our show. I fucking love Norco.
Okay.
It's one of the absolute best games I've played this year. I mean,
yeah, I love it too. So
okay, all right, Norco wins.
I mean, if it were up to me entirely, it would be Elden Ring. But let's.
Well, that's the other thing is like it's hard, man. Like this is what's hard about this is like I know Johnny adores Elden Ring. Chase and I do not. And it sucks.
You
for
played
him.
it. You played it at least. You enjoyed it. You had a good time.
I guess me saying I enjoyed Elden Ring has the same weight for people who don't know me as Johnny saying this is his favorite game of all time. If you knew how much I despise these types of games. Having said that, I do feel guilty in some sense for Johnny because that's a game that means a lot for him that he even knows. Like he goes into these categories like the best moment's not going to win, best style's not going to win, best debut. Like,
let me tell you guys a little story about a game called Tokyo Mirage Session Sharp FE. Sometimes we don't get what we want in these discussions.
Johnny is in a fucking tough go because that game doesn't hold up for us like it does for him, and that's a hard thing.
He's a martyr. It's what he does. He knows the truth. He'll go to heaven, and we'll all be stuck in purgatory.
Congratulations, whether you might want to admit it or not, Chase. Norco is a very cool video game.
It's a cool video game. It's a fine video game.
It's a great video game. Well, maybe you can talk a little bit about it being adequate in our next category, which is
hang on. Yes. Now I can talk about its adequacy in the next category. Continue.
We can go into, well, I mean, if you want to keep talking about Norco, the best debut, I'm happy with that. But we can talk about that game all you want. I wish I liked it more is our next category. This has also been at one point in time, I think hottest mess maybe. We've called this a few different things.
I think it's always been most disappointing. Like the thing here is that this category used to be, at least I'm not 100% sure that's what it is now, but it used to be games that we had a set amount of expectation for, that we had some sort of idea of, oh, that's going to be a game I'm going to love, and then we play it and it doesn't live up to those expectations. And we've talked about how, it's more about the gap. It's, if you come in thinking, oh, this game might be crap, and then it is crap, that's a very small gap between those two. But if it's like a game you thought was going to be your game of the year and it ends up being not even on your list, that might be a pretty huge gap, and it's the most disappointing thing. I think we want to be a little more positive here with the way we talk about this category and the way we think about these nominees. Like, these are games that it's kind of in the category. We wish we liked them more. We wish that they would have been what we thought they were going to be in our top 10s. And I think that changes the dynamic of this a little bit. I mean, it's a little bit semantics, but it at least has something in there where we might nominate games that some of us think are good or even great. But I think this is a forum for people to talk about why a game didn't quite live up to their expectations of it.
So now that you've run through that, Chase, what are the two runners up to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet?
We'll see. Why don't we read off the full list here? Citizen Sleeper, Destiny 2 The Witch Queen, Digimon Survive, Elden Ring, Fire Emblem 3, Gotham Knights, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Mario Strikers Battle League, Norco, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Railbound, Rail Grade.
Not a good year to be a
Shovel
rail.
Knight Dig. Yep, getting railed and going west. that's what's happening. Shovel Knight Dig, RPG Golf Legends.
I hate it. I hate it.
I wish I liked that name.
Terrible name.
It's terrible. That's why do you think it's on the fucking list?
It looks great. It reads terribly.
Yeah.
Rogue Legacy 2, SD Gundam Battle Alliance, Shredders, Soldiers.
Put some soul into it.
I've got soul, but I am not a soldier. Yep. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you, Brandon Flowers.
Brandon
Splatoon
Flowers.
3, Switch Sports, or Nintendo Switch Sports specifically. Symphony of War, the Nephilim Saga, Reborn, Temtem, Tinykin, the Callisto Protocol, the Playdate in general, Trek to Yomi, Vampire Survivors, and Warhammer 40k Darktide. Now, we don't agree on all the things that are on here. And
when do we ever?
Well, true, but this is more. I think somebody needs to talk about why some of these games are on here when we get to them.
Yeah.
So, is there anyone that we want to point to first? I think more than the other categories here, this is one that we should probably talk through. Talk through all of them quickly, but talk through all of them. So, who sees something here that they don't feel doesn't belong?
That doesn't belong on this list?
Yeah.
I mean,
okay, I'll start. I put Norco on here because I think Norco is fine. We talked about it the last category. I think Citizen Sleeper is a better game than Norco. Citizen Sleeper falls apart at the end. We've all talked about that, but I think the concepts that it has are more interesting than Norco to me. The gameplay is more interesting than Norco to me. The art style is more interesting than Norco to me. I had a fine time with Norco. It wasn't, I've played other visual novels, other adventure games, other games that play in this similar space that I've had a better time with than Norco. I'm still kind of surprised that you guys love it as much as you do. I'm excited that you do, but I'm surprised at how much you guys like this game. That being said, you guys love Norco. I still think it's good, so I'm cutting it from this. But it's one I wish I had the same passion you guys did with it, because I still don't necessarily see it, even though I like it.
I want to put Elden Ring on here, or I want to talk about that really quick.
Were you the one who did put Elden Ring on here?
I did put Elden Ring on here.
Okay.
I wish that I had, because I thought I was going to have it there for a minute. I thought
you did there for a bit. Like, you guys were streaming it. You were having a fun time as your 3-person team with your cousin Jason and Johnny, and seemed like you clicked with it, and then you didn't.
There was a moment where I felt like this was going to finally be my time to join the big brain gamers out there that really can get behind FromSoft. Sickos. And I don't know if it was just how hard it was to play with Jason and Johnny, the way that they had their systems, but there was a moment where I just kind of realized that all I was doing in this game was avoiding the things that made me think it was Dark Souls. And that was just like running around exploring, getting the shenanigans with these two, getting lost in the atmosphere of this world. But anytime that like reality crashed and it was like, oh, you are struggling, this is a tough game, like it's unforgiving and punitive, you don't like those things, it really hurt, because I liked so much of it. And personally, very personally, I thought I was there. I thought I'd found one of these finally, and that I could talk to Johnny about this series he loves so much with more curiosity than my feigned curiosity. And it was a bummer, because it was a really cool time whenever I was hanging out with my cousin and him, and our group thread has always been without me present for that conversation. And yeah, Elden Ring is a game that is very good. I just wish I liked it more.
I also wish I liked it more, because I would have liked to play a game with Johnny that he was super passionate about. I feel like all the games he is passionate about, I just don't care about. I'm not going to play Call of Duty anymore. Well, That's not true. I'm going to play some Call of Duty with you, but like that is not a game I'm buying day one to play with Johnny. And a similar thing with Elden Ring. Like there was a part of me that really thought I was going to secretly buy Elden Ring and play it without either of you two, just so I could come into this game of the year and go, hell yeah, man, hell yeah, brother, this is game of the year, and just give Johnny the biggest Christmas present I could possibly give him. But I just couldn't do it. I just don't like these games.
I understand.
Yep.
Callisto Protocol, I think can be stricken off the list here. My expectations, like this was a game that I like split the cost of with a friend, mainly because I was just more curious, and it didn't. I'm not going to speak for you, Bobby, but like it didn't meet or fail to meet my expectations because I didn't really have any other than this is the new game from a lot of people that made Dead Space.
Yeah,
and
it's the new Dead Space.
I have no attachment to Dead Space other than like missing out on it when it came out, and so like, and it seems fine. Like it's a very strong 7, I think. So
yeah, I think that's fair.
I'm just going to go on a bit of a cutting spree because I know we're always pressed for time like we are. I'm going to cut Fire Emblem Three Hopes. The reason that was on here is that I like Fire Emblem. I like Dynasty Warriors games inexplicably. You would think I would like the combination of those two things. And I really didn't like Fire Emblem Warriors, that game, the game that came out before this one did. But this one I played the demo. I think it might be kind of cool. It's got more of the Hyrule Age of Calamity in there. That I think it's probably something I would enjoy if I played it. I just didn't want to do that. So it's probably actually pretty good. I just ended up not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm also going to cut SD Gundam Battle Alliance. That game's adequate. I don't think I had some high hopes that it was going to be an incredible thing. It's the SD Gundam game that isn't the turn-based strategy one. Those are the ones that I like. This one's not that. And it's okay. Like it's a perfectly fine game. It got way better once they patched it, but I don't feel enough passion either way. Yeah. I'd cut Symphony of War, the Nephilim Saga. I put that one on there. Bobby, I know you like it. I just wish, the name of the category, I wish I liked it more. It is absolutely my jam in that it's like those Fire Emblem games, but I just didn't connect with its systems. Same thing for Temtem. We just talked about it earlier. I think it's more of a slider here or there, and it would be a game that would easily crack my top 10, if not go super high on it. It just had some things that rubbed me the wrong way, and I couldn't get past.
Yeah.
I've got a couple more.
Yeah, hit me.
Mario Strikers Battle League. I was super.
You loved the previous game.
I did. I love the GameCube game. I really liked the Wii game too, and it was a long time between entries to that. And I don't know if it's just that I'm older or maybe the game wasn't that good, but I played it like a handful of times that first week, and I've just not touched it since. And it just did not hit the same way it did. And I think what a lot of that is like I played that with my friends when I was growing up. And it's a much more fun, like local co-op experience. I don't think it's necessarily a bad game. I just, I wish I liked it more. Bobby, I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like Warhammer. I feel like Darktide. Like I feel like it's gonna get there.
Yeah.
It's just disappointing that we've had the experience that we have had so far with it.
The technical issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I have every confidence that like 6 months, however long from now, they'll get it patched. It'll run just as smooth as Vermintide does. Yeah. It'll get there. So those two for me.
I'm gonna do. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm also just gonna quickly cut Tactics Ogre.
Okay.
It's another year where Chase plays an old remastered JRPG, and it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. And this one is a tactics one, which hurts a little bit more because those are my favorite kinds of games. It just didn't click, and it made me feel bad. But not enough to where some of these other games did.
I got a few quick cuts for us. I'll get rid of Railgrade. It was ended up being a lot more boring and uninteresting for like a sim management. I'm gonna cut RP Golf Legends.
Fair enough.
That game seemed like it would be kind of a golf story, ended up being a lot less. I will cut Soldiers. I thought this was gonna be kind of a interesting class based pixel platformer.
Had some cool trailers.
I did not like that game.
Yeah, it didn't feel great. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I also put Splatoon 3 on here. Splatoon 3 is a great time. I just wish that I spent more time with it, and it's a game that kind of lives and dies by multiplayer. So the stuff I dug. It's fine for that. Tinykin, I think is really fucking cool. I found the levels to be brilliantly designed. I just wish that they would have brought more of a variety of things to do from an objective versus these few things each time in the same level. I thought it got super boring to the point where you could play the demo of that game and be pretty good to go on what it is, because it doesn't change much more beyond that.
As much as I like it, I agree with that. I think if somebody did play the demo, which you should, it's free.
Yeah.
You can get a really fun time out of that and it down and go, yep, that was Tinykin and it was cool, and you don't need to see more. I'm also the sicko who loves Assassin's Creed 1 more than any other game, and that game is just like the same 4 missions over and over again. So I get why I like the monotonous thing. That I think is fun.
It's a really cool game. I think that the worlds that they built and the activities that you can do with the Tinykin are cool. But yeah, the other one that I would cut, I think I'm the one who put Switch Sports on here. It's fine. I mean, hang on. I'm gonna leave that one there. Shovel Knight Dig. Get rid of that one.
I think that's a fairer one to cut at this point.
And I'm cool with getting rid of 2 more that I put on here. Gotham Knights can go. I don't know how much I wish I liked it more. I think that game is middling and boring.
Dogwater.
Yeah, Dogwater. Yep. And then the other one is Destiny 2: The Witch Queen. This is a little bit tougher.
Finally killed you.
That's a hard thing, and like it's very personal for me, because this is where I was just like, I'm done with Destiny, and that's a game that I loved. I've got hundreds upon hundreds of hours over Destiny and Destiny 2, so it's really fucking weird to not play Destiny, and it's really weird to not know what's happening with the seasons. But
hey, I'll tell you, it's really weird to still be playing Destiny.
That's kind of what I feel. Let me just do one more quick look over on this. Oh, Shredders can go. Shredders can go for me.
I don't even remember what Shredders is.
That was that really, snowboarding. It looked like it was going to be really cool. I got excited because I love snowboarding games. Yeah. And this one was just.
There's not a lot of good snowboarding games. I know. I like them. I like them all. I want to like them all. I look at them and I go, oh, I hope that's good. And then they just rarely are.
I think.
All right,
that's it for me. I think that's it for me on everything.
Okay, that leaves us with Citizen Sleeper, Digimon Survive, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Pokemon Scarlet Violet, Railbound, Rogue Legacy 2, Nintendo Switch Sports, The Playdate, Trek to Yomi, and Vampire Survivors.
Yeah.
Bobby, would you like to talk about Vampire Survivors? Because I think 2 people on this podcast disagree with you.
I wonder if I disagree with myself even. I'm going off of some antiquated memories of this game right now. And as you both know, I've really dug a few other Vampire Survivors like.
Yeah.
I like 20 Minutes Till Dawn a whole lot. I'm finding that I like a few more mechanics in the game than maybe what they offer in Vampire Survivors. Some of these are having you actively click. Some of these are a bit more with like rolls, dashes, abilities that you're engaging with that I feel are a bit more modern. But it's hard for me to deny at this stage, like this is the only new game on our list that has brought a new genre. It's like a PUBG almost in the indie scene on like what it's bringing. And like, even from a best debut standpoint, like I thought about that, like this is the one game that has shaped the genre in the industry to that degree.
Yeah, I mean, there's been wave-based survival games before, but in terms of, hey, it's top-down / isometric, it has these power-ups that you get at certain intervals. It is a kind of its own thing. I think it's more akin to like an auto chess thing where, hey, this is like a hot thing that is hot right now, but it probably dies. It's less like, oh, this is a new roguelike.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard for me to say that I wish I liked it more, because I think I do like it more, because I'm liking games like it now. So
at the same time, the thing that you said you wanted from it doesn't have. Like, you could come back to it now. They've added a ton of content. They haven't added any active abilities in the way that you want from something like 20 Minutes Till Dawn. So I part of me thinks probably still wouldn't click with you. The other part of me thinks, a year or two down the line, you're going to go, hey, this is my Into the Breach where I have to make good and say, oh, this game's actually really good now.
And if I can just add, like, I have my like for this game has only intensified as I've unlocked new power-ups and characters and upgraded my skill. Like, it's anyway.
It's something I can always go back to and lose an hour or two to, and just have a great time every time.
Yeah.
So, who here played Rogue Legacy 2?
Me.
Oh, okay. Both you did.
Well, I borrowed it from Johnny's library until he's like, hey, stop playing. I want to try and get a refund. I was like, yeah, probably smart.
I don't think it's a bad game. It's just, it's too hard.
It's hard. It's a hard game.
It's too fucking hard. And that was my problem I had with the first one. And like, you look at me and you can, but Johnny, you love Elden Ring. I was like, that's true. I do love Elden Ring, and it's a very difficult game as well. But this is, I don't know. Like, it just, I want so badly to like these games because I know how much they're adored by the people that do enjoy them.
Yep.
But it's just not for me. I wish I liked it more.
The difficulty doesn't get me as much. I mean, I think this game is built to be difficult because it's also built to be something that you like. This is different from every other roguelike in that it is something that has permanence to it. You are
upgrading your castle.
You start to upgrade your health and things like that, so you are buffer. I mean, Hades does a similar thing and better, honestly, where eventually in Hades you have gotten enough passive bonuses that you can live much longer. You have revives and you have other things that are going on. And I think Rogue Legacy is similar. My problem with Rogue Legacy and why I didn't even buy it as much as I love the first game is that it's too big. A lot of these roguelikes, when they try to make a sequel to it, expand it to a point where it loses something to me. Same thing happened with me with Spelunky 2. The only one that avoided this curse was Risk of Rain 2, and that's because it radically changed what the video game was, going to 3D and making it like a whole different thing. But Rogue Legacy 2 had the same problem. It's too big. It's too different. I mean, it's not different. It's the same game, but it's complexity expanded to a point that it's like, I liked this because it was a small fun thing I played over a weekend, and this is something that they want me to play for months, and I don't want to do that. That's not why I'm here. So it disappointed me on that end, but I don't know. Do we feel passionate about it where like it needs to be on the list, or is this one that gets cut?
Rogue Legacy?
Yeah.
It can go for me.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm more in a point now where like I think I want to say the game that should win this and then try and defend why it should. I mean, but I'm happy to go through this one.
Are we all saying Pokemon?
Yes.
Pokemon Scarlet Violet.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's close.
I think it's close for me, but not for you two. So I understand.
What was your close second on that?
It is Digimon Survive by a fucking mile, man.
That was my guess.
Look, I get why I'm a fool. Like this is not the Sonic cycle.
I was excited for this game. I was going to buy it.
I even asked you if I should.
And then you're like, no.
Yeah, no, I told you guys pretty quick that it is
Yeah.
not a game you need to play. Like the Sonic cycle is out there because Sonic was good at one point. Like I knew, and so you get people who get like this false sense of, oh, this is going to be good, and then it's not good. That's not what Digimon Survive was. This game was famously pushed back multiple times, had some trouble development. I think most people knew it wasn't going to turn out well. I think it actually turned out better than people expected it to. It's still, this should have been my jam. This was part visual novel, part like turn-based tactics game, and the foundation of it is there. I think they've actually built a pretty good system. The problem is the turn-based stuff is just kind of boring. The characters don't move enough spaces to really feel like you're doing dynamic combat. Things are too bullet spongy. I mean, there's no bullets exactly, but like just too much health on a lot of these guys. They drag on a little bit. The arenas aren't that interesting to fight in. And from the story side, the story is okay, but it's just so much of it. It's so goddamn much of it.
It's a lot.
But it is a fantastic foundation that I think if you build upon and trim, not just build things, but you trim things, I think you could make a really, really cool game out of this engine, system, everything. And the fact that it's so close to an amazing game for me and just falls flat on its face really, really disappoints me. But I get that it cannot possibly beat the king of this category, which is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which is a game I finished, got all the fucking Pokemon for.
You did all the things.
Did all the things. Like the only thing I didn't do was get one kind of the evolution of one Pokemon, and then I didn't do any of the Charizard stuff and haven't done any of the raid stuff since. But I finished that fucking Pokedex. I played a lot of this game. It's not good. It's different in a way where it also has promise. You built something here. We talked for hours about Pokemon. We don't need to rehash it all here. It's the winner of this category. It's fair. An easy win. It's an easy win. So Johnny, yes, you're right. This was all kind of for nothing. We basically all knew that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was going to win this category.
Chase.
It really was. But I'm glad we went through the exercise because I think this is interesting. I think Trek to Yomi is a strong third here.
I
because
agree.
Holy shit, that game looked cool and just
wasn't that like
worst.
the consensus that like the E3 trailer that came out? We were gushing over that thing. Like that's all we talked about.
It should have been great. And
it's published by Devolver, a publisher who, they can miss, but they don't miss very often. And oh man, what a total miss that was. Yeah. So that one I think is also a strong contender here, but it didn't have Pokemon level expectations of it. Playdate's up there too. Again, like I said earlier, I think that's more of a victim of circumstance.
Yeah,
I think I would have had a much better view of the Playdate if I just had moments where it would have made sense to play it, and I just didn't have those moments.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Cool. And let's move on. I'll take us through Overachiever if that's cool.
Go for it.
So the other side of the coin, what we wish we liked more. Sometimes things even surprise the hell out of us. And we've gone through a few iterations of the name for this category. I love when Chase came up with Overachiever because it does just that. These are games that have exceeded our expectations. These could be games that we had written off. These are games that we refused to play. And all of a sudden we play them and we're like, what the hell's happening? This is actually good. Or sometimes we go into a game expecting adequacy and we get magic. And that leads us to our Overachiever of the year, not to be confused with best debut, because sometimes these are first games. These are games that are coming out. It used to be called Biggest Surprise, and there was some confusion with it. It's now Overachiever for that reason. With that being said, we've got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Elden Ring, Marvel Snap, Neon White, Need for Speed Unbound, Norco, Pokemon Legends, Arceus, Sonic Frontiers, Sniper Elite 5, Stray, Tinykin, Tunic, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. What are your thoughts?
Can I ask why you put Elden Ring here?
Because my expectations were sky high and it exceeded them. I don't think it wins this category necessarily, but for me, like, it was up here, and then the game just took that and ran away with it. So,
yeah, I mean, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, like those are some of your favorite games of all time, right?
The pedigree was there, but
Yeah.
those are also very, you know, it's not a fully, like, this could have gone wrong in so many ways of them trying to switch to a fully open world. I suffer from like open world fatigue in a big way. And so while like I was confident that FromSoft would be able to successfully build something using you know, an open world map, like the way in which they did it, I think only they could have done. And it took my, like I said, my already very high, you guys know how hyped I was for this game.
So hyped.
I mean, Johnny, I bought this game and played it.
I know.
I think
that should have been, that was honestly, that's my moment of the year, was playing Elden Ring with Bobby.
Yeah, it's up there.
So yeah, I don't think it wins this category, just because, like, obviously I knew, I didn't doubt its quality. It was how passionately I would feel about it once I actually played through it. So
I think that's fair.
I had two weird experiences here. They don't win this list, I don't believe at all, but Tunic, I remember the demo came in a little hot and we were like, hey, what's going on with this? This is different.
We're pretty iffy on it. Yeah.
And I remember, like, I had been trying forever to get that demo. It had only came to Xbox. It wouldn't come to PC. I think, Chase, you had even downloaded it and checked it out before I did. And I was so hyped for it. And then I didn't dig the demo. And then this game came out and just absolutely wrecked me. And it does not need to be here by any stretch, in my opinion. But that's the reason I put it there. And the other one would be... I'll let that sit for now, for me.
Okay. I mean, I don't think Neon White's going to win. So,
well, hang on a second.
What?
I wrote that game off. I said on here I did not like the demo of that game. Like, I was very open about, similar to Tunic with this one, and Johnny ended up picking this thing up, and he's like falling in love with it. And he's like, dude, just check it out. You should download it. It's in my library. I'm like, I didn't care what I played from a Steam Next Fest for this. And I downloaded it and I got hooked. I started competing against Johnny's scores in there. And I feel like this game has shown in some big ways, like, what it is and what it could be. Like, I went from not wanting to play this game at all to agreeing with it being on a lot of categories.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of had the opposite problem where I didn't play the demo. I only saw it when it came out and saw people gushing about it, and I wasn't watching speedruns or anything or watching people's times, but I was just hearing people's stories about how they were competing against each other. And I just didn't have time to play it at the time it came out. And when I came to it much later, I thought, oh, I've missed the boat. This isn't going to be the thing that I want it to be, because I'm just not in the zeitgeist of it. And that didn't end up happening, even though I knew I was going to like this game from what everybody had said and from what I had seen. And then I ended up just, it's like, yep, that was absolutely what I thought it was going to be. One of the coolest games this year. So for me, I guess it's hard for it to overachieve when it just kind of met the expectations that I had for it, that it was going to be fucking rad. The only thing that overachieved and surprised me was that it was fun, even though everybody else had been there, done that, and weren't coming back to it, and that I was playing it without that leaderboard stuff and still having a great time. That was still surprising to me. But I mean, personally, I guess I just don't see it on this compared to some of the other things.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, what are we talking about here?
Like,
I feel like this might be a Pokemon Legends Arceus versus Sonic Frontiers.
yeah, I mean, I think that if you would have told me that in this year I would be digging Sonic, Call of Duty, and Need for Speed, I would have
Oh
done
yeah,
the.
Need for Speed
I would have
probably.
been like, "What
Yeah.
the fuck are you talking about?" Like,
Is it 2004?
yeah. What year
Yeah.
is it? So not only am I digging them, I'm really, really digging those games and having a great time with it. But I think on
Yeah,
the
I don't think
Sonic
Sonic Frontiers
Frontiers,
is a good game, but it's surprisingly good for
compared to
what
where
we all
we,
thought it was supposed to be. Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
that we've dragged a single game this year like we dragged that game. Like any
Yeah.
chance we got to talk about everything about that game being shit, we did, and rightfully so. And then the reviews came out and we're like, wait, are we the baddies? Was it our fault? Did we
I
do
mean,
this?
you're still the only one of us who played it, right? Johnny,
No,
did you play Sonic
Johnny's played
Frontiers?
it.
I
Oh,
played
okay.
it for a couple hours. Yeah.
Okay.
So I know that we had a lot of fun making fun of that game, and then I had
Yeah.
to eat some serious crow because I think that game's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'll make the argument for Pokemon Legends Arceus. Like, it's the opposite side of the coin. It would be very poetic if we voted for this one as Overachiever when we had Wish We Liked It More as the other Pokemon game, because that should be flipped, right? Like this. I mean, not flipped as in
This
I wouldn't
random
win, but
side
Yeah.
project.
yeah, like we've
Yeah.
had side project Pokemon games before, and they vary in how good they are. Like they're not always the best, but then the mainline Pokemon games coming, and that's the one that we all care about.
That's a good one.
And this year
That's the good one.
Yeah.
was the exact opposite. Like this came out in January, which I don't think any of us were expecting that. A game that we would have. The Pokemon game that we loved was coming out in January. It completely changes the formula on Pokemon. It's something I was very against
Yeah.
because I like playing Pokemon in a very specific way, and this was not that. And it ended up being a really cool time, and I think it gets even better when Scarlet and Violet come out and you compare it to the mainline game and you go, wait a minute, the concepts that they're kind of shoving into Scarlet and Violet are basically the concepts they built in Legends Arceus, but Arceus does it so much better, and that's just a more fun game all around.
I don't disagree with anything you said. I'm ready to just put it out there to you both, and we can use this information how you want to. Stray is my pick here. I'm happy to talk through that. I don't know if it'll win. I probably doesn't here, but I do think Stray, by a very large margin for me, is the overachiever of the year. I personally don't really care for cats. I'm just not a cat guy. And when I saw this game get announced, I was like, oh, okay, like I don't need a cat walking simulator. That looks okay. It was pretty looking, but I remember watching that like PS Direct or whatever it was, and I was like, this is the shit that they're like wanting to do for next gen. What the hell is this? And I started to see some reviews for it, and then Sony's like, hey, if you do this tier, you'll get to play this game for free. I'm like, it's only $18. It's cheaper than what the game would be for me to upgrade my existing membership. And just the absolute beautiful world they created was enough to hook me and just be like, wow, this is really neat to explore. Like, I understand why they made you a cat. You can walk up onto these rafters and you can go onto these air ducts and really get the details of this world that they built. What I wasn't ready for was the narrative that they told with really saying nothing at all at sometimes. And the lengths that this game goes to make you feel so vulnerable and also so protective over that cat. And just it's one of those situations where I think they've done a fantastic job doing it. I don't know if this wins here, but for me, I was not prepared to care about the cat game in this year at all. Probably more so than like Sonic, because Sonic is a name that I knew and recognized and have experienced, but a generic house cat in a post-apocalyptic world did not even carry my interest outside of that trailer.
I think you're a little bit in the minority there, because I feel like most of the people saw the trailer for the cat game and
Correct.
went buck fucking wild for it.
Yep.
I've been excited for it since it was announced.
And I mean, I the passion with which you speak of how you had kind of no expectations going in, and especially from a narrative perspective, it hit you hard. We do have a category for that.
Yep, for sure. But I just had to get my little soapbox moment for Stray here because I think it did some great things.
That's fair. I think that's a fair point. Johnny, I feel like you should probably talk a little bit about Need for Speed Unbound before we make a final decision on any of this.
This game came out of fucking nowhere.
It's got a great story to it. Like not the story of the video game, the story in the video game, the story of the video game.
Yeah, we talked about this on the podcast, but little to no fanfare. They released it a couple days early, and I saw some positive buzz going around online, and I thought it had a cool looking style to it. And I, on a whim, was like, yeah, okay, let's check this out. Let's see what this new Need for Speed's about. This is only on next gen consoles. It runs 4K 60 on my PS5. Done. Sold. And for the next several days, all I did was play Need for Speed Unbound. And the last racing game I was into that was not a Forza title would have probably been Gran Turismo 5 on the PS3. And just the it's good. It's so fucking good. It's such a great arcade racer.
This franchise has been lost for over a generation of consoles. Like the entries have just been middling. And they just have not found their footing at all. And for this game to come out to little fanfare, little build up, and then also to get released a couple days early, that's something that a publisher does when they are just like,
it's like, let's get this out the door,
get this thing out of here.
Let's get it out there. Like maybe we can fool some people into not even reviewing it, and just or they have the reviews all lined up, but we're gonna jump the gun, and maybe we can get some sales before people realize this game is shit. And that's not what happened here. It released early and people liked it.
It's very good.
I like it a whole lot. It's one of my favorite games I played this year, and to see it's also nice that Criterion are the makers of this, because people always harken back to Burnout, and we haven't had a Burnout game in forever,
since Paradise.
Yep. And so to see that studio put out this game and for it to be this good is just, it's incredible.
Agreed.
I like it a whole bunch. Can I talk quickly about Call of Duty and Xenoblade? I think Call of Duty can get struck out. It's just, this is more personal for me. Like I had kind of written off the series because I didn't play Vanguard. I got Black Ops Cold War for free with my 3080. I did not enjoy that. It's been years since there's been a game that has ensnared me the way that this one has. I think I like this even more than the first Modern Warfare reboot or whatever, reimagining. I've completed the Battle Pass. I've gotten Bobby to play it with me.
You got 50 of those levels.
I did. To be fair, but I've played this game so much in such a relatively short period of time. It's my favorite shooter in years. I absolutely just love it.
You can't say the super hot line like that. What are you doing?
Oh God.
I think that's fair. And then Xenoblade, do you want to give a quick thing on that?
I mean, I'm at 40 hours or so right now in my playthrough.
Child's play.
More hours than you put into Xenoblade Chronicles 2?
Yeah. I didn't play Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I played the remaster.
You played the first game, not the second game.
Which I put like 10 or 15 into. And it is like, man, I love that game. I love the characters. I love the story they're telling. I wouldn't have to get deep into it. It's just, it has blown me away how much I I am truly invested in this game, invested in these characters, and going to stick with them to see their journey through, because it's a long game. Like, I'm not even quite halfway through it. But it has. I love the combat, and the world is so fun to run around and explore. And even if the dialogue they're saying does get a bit repetitive to one another, there's a charm to it. And I think all your party members are great. There's a great chemistry that you're building between them. These two factions have to come together and learn to get along and work together. And it's a special game. And
when that game came out, I think I talked about how I didn't know if I was gonna like the third game if I didn't like the first game, but I also remember saying that I had purchased inexplicably the second game, and that would probably be the one I'd play, because because it's the one that's got the like Smash Brothers characters now, and it's the popular Weeby one, and like, okay, that sounds like maybe I should give this series another shot and try it with this game. I'll tell you, I don't think I've told you this before. I bought the third game. I didn't play, of course. Like this was also like a potential hidden agenda. I might.
You gotta play so we can talk about Ouroboros. Please.
Oh yeah. Well, who knows? This was also potentially going to be. Oh, maybe I'll just play all of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and talk about how
you monster.
No, I couldn't do that.
You monster.
I need to talk to you about flame clocks and why they need to be destroyed. And
at this point, I feel like I'd probably just skip all the way to 3 and just play 3 instead
of
that's
smart.
Starting. Two. Yeah, I'm back. It's fine. Okay. Yeah, like I'd probably, if I was gonna play 2, I'd probably finish 3 first and then go back.
Okay.
Anyway. What the hell's gonna win this thing? It sounds like it's Pokemon Legends Arceus, Need for Speed Unbound, and
Sonic.
Yeah, like those feel like the 3 to me.
Sonic surprised the shit out of me. I'll say that much. Like, that's the biggest turn here. I think I'm surprised by how much I like Need for Speed. Like, out of that, like, I'm so surprised by it. Pokemon carries a huge surprise for me as well, on just like, hey, they tried something new after years of being asked to try something new, and it actually worked. There is a lot there that is still Pokemon that I think maybe we all know. Like, we obviously talked about how much we were let down by Pokemon, so it means a lot to us. But I feel like Pokemon doesn't have to do a whole lot for us to like it. At least
it doesn't, but I will say at the end, like when this game was coming out, we're all still coming off the DLC for Sword and Shield, and I feel like we were all at a pretty low for how we felt about new Pokemon games at the time. So for another game to say, hey, we're actually going to really shake things up, and you go, I don't know about this, guys. I don't know if you guys know what the hell you're doing anymore. For them to come out and make a quality game like that, it was really surprising. Which then they immediately fucked up with Scarlet and Violet. They're making those games concurrently. It's not like they fucked it up after. Anyway, doesn't matter. I think honestly, I would probably go with Need for Speed Unbound here. I think it has a great story of it. Like should have been bad.
This should have just been another bad Need for Speed game.
Absolutely.
Like, those things are a foregone conclusion usually. Like, oh, Need for Speed, okay, that's gonna suck. I
think that's a good call. I really do. That one.
The driving, the style, the cell shading, and like all of it just works for me.
It's the best racing game I've played since Burnout.
But what if they just made Automata Lisa 2? What if?
Give it to me right here in my veins, all over my body. Give it to me.
All right, we've got a couple more categories here.
Yeah, these aren't very long ones.
Want me to read these off?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Next up, we have Touchy Feely of the Year. And the nominees are Bloom, Citizen Sleeper, Far Changing Tides, God of War Ragnarok, Norco, Ooblets, Stray, and Tinykin.
This category is mostly about like we've had like the game that made you feel the most. We've talked about like game for impact before. That's something that the Game Awards does. I don't think that's exactly what we want to do with this, but it's more about what game left us feeling emotional in some form or fashion. It can, it doesn't have to necessarily be the saddest game that we played, but it's a game that elicited strong feelings from us. And I think that's probably the fairest way to describe this category.
Yeah. God of War, I think, stands out on this list because it's the only AAA big budget type game on here. But the story that it's telling and the exploration of relationship between father and son, it struck a chord with me. It's like in a way that the 2018 game did, when Jude was much younger and now he's a little bit older, and a lot of the headstrong, just trying to figure shit out stuff. Like he's not as old as Atreus is in this game, and obviously he's not a Norse god, and I'm not the God of War.
Oh, really?
But the struggles to understand and to be understood, to go out from the shadow of your mother and father, and figure out who I am as an individual. It excuse me. I don't know, like it really affected me in a way that like game narratives typically don't. And I've been going through some stuff with my own kid for the last few months that really resonated and made me examine that relationship. So I know like your experience with it, Bobby, is not going to be the same as mine. But like for me personally, this was the most touchy-feely game for me. However, I know that there are probably other games in here that would be stronger contenders. I just wanted to say my piece about God of War Ragnarok and the story that it tells.
Yeah, I'll say my piece real quick, and then we can tell Bobby that Stray won. Citizen Sleeper is the one that I felt the most strongly about here. From a gameplay perspective, yeah, that game falls apart like we've mentioned, but that game has some really good writing to it that made me think about the nature of humanity. It's a lot of empathy. Like there's just so many emotions in there at different parts where it's trusting a person that maybe you don't feel like you can trust. It's or putting your faith in somebody that you aren't sure that you can trust. It's about being generous when you also know that you have limited resources yourself, and whether you should go out on a limb for somebody when it might put you in danger. And then the ending I got, and again, big spoilers here for Citizen Sleeper, so click off if you don't want to know, but I ended up going with the ending where I assimilated with the station. I transferred my consciousness in my citizen or in my sleeper body to live with the consciousness of the AI in the station. And part of that, I'll admit, was that I felt like the game was falling apart and I wanted to get to an ending that was somewhat satisfying for me. So I took the first chance I got. But the other part of me really liked that moment for my character, for the character I built and was going through. That they would want to be a part of this station that gave so much to them, even though they struggled within it. That they would forgo their own body, something that they've constantly been maintaining and trying to keep alive in a different sense, and to just gain a personal sense of freedom that we don't have to worry about that shit anymore. We're now part of the soup. Johnny, there's a little anime called Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yes.
And this was 100% like, yeah, I'm gonna be part of the soup, and I'm comfortable with that decision. So that game meant a lot to me in terms of its story. But
Yeah.
Bobby, you've already went into great detail about how much the cat game meant to you.
It had the same. I felt those feelings as well going through it.
Do you feel like there's anything else you want to add about Stray?
There was one moment.
A point to?
Yeah. There's a character named Momo. I didn't get to talk about his moment, but in this game, Momo, there's four outsiders that are going to help you solve this problem of like opening the city back up. And Momo has lit his friends down time and time again, like being too scared of going into the sewers where it's required, or like being apathetic and uninterested. And you have to convince Momo that they can take you, the cat, and so you and B12 to the sewers to start moving forward to get this thing taken care of. And it's a really interesting way of like early in the game kind of teaching you about like the lay of the land and getting people there. And you're going through the sewer and things aren't right. This is where the virus is at. It's very dangerous for you, and obviously for Momo, he's been super fearful to go in there. And there's a moment where the mechanism to get you into the next area that you have to go to is busted, completely kaput. And there's only one way to make this work, and it's through opening the door partially, knowing that you can't go through. And it's Momo, and he has a moment where he is, please tell my friends I was brave. Is like this moment before he slams the door shut on you, and like you go about your way to go and do these things. And it's just a very profound way of like bringing humanity to these things that are assimilating basically like who we are and what we do. And so I think about like the moment of impact, like outside of what carries the rest of the tone of that game, there is a reflection on what carried us during like a really shitty time of the pandemic. Was they mimicked some of our best qualities of like bravery and kindness. And I think the game does a great job of honoring what got us through some dark periods, and knowing that this team was probably, they were going through changes of production of the game whenever they were building this in the midst of the pandemic. I'm sure that they were feeling isolation, and I have to imagine that some of their own bravery came through in doing those things. So I can find countless moments in that game where you get to exude a lot by doing very little. And it can even be sitting in a very lonely robot's lap that nobody really has anything to do with, and bringing some comfort there. So there's a lot about this game that hits you in the feels, and I think they do a great job with it.
Yep.
All right. No objections to Stray winning this category?
Not at all. Nope.
All right. That was easy.
We have another paid sponsorship. This next segment.
You didn't tell me these things were paid.
Well, we're all paying one way or the other. But we are now going into the most impressive early access, sponsored by BBE. That's me.
What's BBE?
Big Bobby Energy.
Hell yeah.
And as we called out earlier, I like to play unfinished games. Chase aptly does not play games at all, and Johnny does not finish them. You put us together and you got one tasty treat. We're the casual hour. This year, we continue the trend. Would one of you like to talk through my category since I'll be weighing in here, or how do you want to go about it?
I got you. For the most impressive early access nominees, we have Core Keeper, Dinkum, X Zodiac, Have a Nice Death, My Time at Sandrock, Moonbreaker, Shatterline, Slime Rancher 2, Soulstone Survivors, The Iron Oath, and V Rising.
Chase, you don't typically play these types of games. You have the option to now, a little bit easier than you have in the past. Is there any on here that you have checked out?
I've played some X Zodiac.
Okay.
It's like Star Fox. I like it.
It's very cool.
I don't think it would win this category, but okay. I had a good time with X Zodiac. I also don't like Gundam Wing that much, but I do like the Sandrock Gundam. So, feeling pretty good about My Time at Sandrock, but I don't think that's the same thing that I'm thinking
getting really confused there for a second.
Let's just say it is.
Yeah.
Johnny, I know that you've played some of these. Any of those stand out to you?
Slime Rancher and Shatterline.
Yeah, those are the two that I'm really high on for this as well.
We played some V Rising together.
I think that's awesome.
And it was really, really cool. But it was not as you all want to say, not quite my tempo.
I also think that friend of the show that also does a podcast with Chase Pierce. I think he's really into V Rising, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's played a lot of that.
I can't remember. He might have liked it. Bobby, can you remind me what Dinkum is? I feel like
Dinkum is the super low poly, even like PS1 era looking Animal Crossing clone. It's the Australian Animal Crossing. It's really cool. It's just very early.
Sounds a little familiar.
Early access. I don't know how much I like the look of it.
Yeah, this game.
There's that game that you talked about that was like in one of our preview episodes that you're like, it looks like a Sonic clone almost, you called it. And I think you ended up checking it out. Very similar art style to that.
Okay. So it's between Shadowline and Slime Rancher 2, yes?
Yes. I love Slime Rancher 2. It's really, really polished for what it is, but there's still a lot that they're going to add into that. I want to just, if I could, talk a bit really briefly. Shatterline's being built by a team that's in Ukraine. They've had to pivot and stop based off of what's happening there. They even brought this game to, they took it off of like a plan for like kickstarting it and decided to go the early access route, and they moved and pivoted their production of the game based off of Ukraine and what's been going on there to bring this game out. And for it to be as competent as it is in this form of early access, like I've played this game in a year with Call of Duties and other fantastic shooters like Destiny, and I just cannot get over how well polished this game is and how it plays and what they're doing. I mean, I love Slime Rancher 2. Like that is like I called out earlier or last episode about Slime Rancher being backlog or best non-game. Anyway, the fact that they're doing this level of early access work, supporting the game, staying in touch with what's happening and communicating their next steps in the midst of a war, I think carries a lot of weight for me on running a successful early access. What they did might not be fair for other games on this list to stack up against that, but I do think it's worth mentioning from an early access.
And you also like the game. It's not like it's only the token. There's, they're dealing with a lot right now, so let's give them an award. You really do like Shatterline. I love that game. Like that's maybe my favorite shooter this year. Like I have so much fun with that game. They've got a new season going right now. Like I'm chomping at the bit to play it. If we weren't doing all the stuff with the game of the year, I'm sure Johnny, I would have snuck some more in this year. I love that thing. It's so good.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So that takes care of that line. Yeah, big time. And that leads us to our final individual category, which means that there's no arguing on this, except I will argue with Johnny because I have to, and it's the last time I get to argue with him in Game of the Year. I looked back last year,
but I get you.
Yes, I looked back last year, and I had picked Breath of the Wild 2, and Johnny picked something else, and he goes, only because because Bobby picked Breath of the Wild, I'm picking this. Mm-hmm. But because I had put this down, I'm going to let you have Zelda this year. It is still my most anticipated one.
We'll let you have the game that didn't come out this year.
Yes. All that to be said, Everspace 2 is going to be coming out.
Hey,
and
those are both going to be certified bangers.
Oh, probably. Yeah, dude. I have had to peel myself off of all the early access updates for Everspace 2 because that game fucking rules, and it's going to be out this year, and I cannot wait. Chase? No game series that you like this year, right?
Yeah. No. I mean, this year should have been good with Digimon Survive and new Pokemon games, and it should have been my year, and it just wasn't. Next month, we're getting a new Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Engage. I'm extremely cautiously optimistic about this. All the preview coverage I've seen has been exciting. Left me optimistic. There's a part of me that worries it's not the kind of game I want it to be. we've talked about Three Houses before. I like Three Houses, and it's just hard to play repeat playthroughs because the monastery stuff. I haven't seen anything like the monastery exactly. I know there's going to be some kind of out of battle stuff with the new Fire Emblem game, but that's easily the game I'm most excited for. I just want to play it. I want to know what it's like, and can't wait.
Yeah.
And I don't have to wait very long, so pretty excited about that. I mean,
just over a month.
And there are other games that could have gone here. I think last year my pick was the Metal Slug Tactics game, which didn't come out. But that's supposedly still coming out this next year. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp is potentially coming out at some point. It's done. We know it's done.
Sports Story.
That's Sports. I mean, Sports Story is technically this month still. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of good stuff. But Fire Emblem, I mean, that's the easy one. It's fucking Fire Emblem. You guys know me. That's what I'm gonna pick.
Johnny.
Chase will be back on his bullshit. Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, Bobby.
Yeah, that's a big one. Can't wait. Cannot wait.
Separate from Breath of the Wild too. Those are different games, right?
Yes.
I almost put Armored Core 6 just because it's the new FromSoft game.
Do you think that's this year?
Huh?
You think that's this year or
It's
next year?
out.
I mean,
it's supposed to come out next year. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
didn't they say 2023?
They didn't say when.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, I don't put any release date in stone post COVID. So.
Yeah. Same.
I'm not going to promise you, Johnny, but I feel like there's a really good chance I play Armored Core 6.
Chase, I assume.
I'm going to play it, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chase, are you going to check out the new Zelda?
I would probably go back and play more Breath of the Wild and maybe finish that game, a thing I have not done, before I would jump into a new Zelda. But
are you going to check out Everspace 2?
Probably not.
Okay. All right.
I've watched you play that game. Wait, was that not considered for early access?
It's been in early access for it came out
2021.
Yeah, it didn't come out in early access this year. It came into early access last year. So it's been in early. Every game that I have on here came out in early access this year. Yeah.
Hey, it's your category, man. You can do whatever you want to it.
It's my category, and I'll cry if I want to.
But I have watched you play some Everspace too. It looks cool. I think that's a cool looking game.
That concludes our categories for 2022. Do we want to run down the winners one last time before we wrap up tonight?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay.
Let me get back through here, get up and see. All right, for Bobby Pease's Best of the West, went to Weird West. Congratulations, Weird West.
Weird West.
Best moment or sequence went to Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, Kirby's anime OP / Kirby / the Nintendo Direct that had Kirby in it. All of it. All that stuff. Best debut went to Norco. I wish I liked it more award went to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the only award it will see.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
The Overachiever of the year went to Need for Speed Unbound, which still is shocking to me, but in a good way. Well done. Yep. The touchy-feely of the year went to Stray, and the most impressive early access game of 2022 went to Shatterline. We also have screenshots of the year that each of us contributed to. Bobby, I believe you're going to put that up on our socials, correct?
Yep. We'll have each one of our 4 on Twitter, and I'll do a couple stories or posts on Instagram as well.
Very cool. Looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah. So that is wrapping up day 2. We have quick looks you can go and check out. Nothing new this week. YouTube.com/casual hour for those. And if you are this far into the bullshit with us, come back Friday night at 10:30 p.m. Central, where we will be breaking down our top 10 games of 2022. So our personal list. And then we will use the power of science, the power of math, and the power of hate to bring together our top 10 games of 2022, our tried and true casual top 10. So we'll have that stuff on Friday night. We normally post our episodes every Friday morning. We will post our actual audio for the show probably the day after. But you can go back right now and listen to our first day. Check that out. And then come back and see how all these come together in the rank and file of the show. Anything from either one of you that you would want to plug?
Nope. Yeah. I recorded a new episode of my podcast pilot program with our good friend Pierce Corshane. It was on WWF Monday Night Raw. I am in the process of editing it right now. It was a fun time for one of us, I'll tell you that. So that should go up relatively soon, but I'm still in the process of editing it, so we'll see. Go on Twitter, search for Pilot Program Pod, I believe is Twitter. Go to the link tree. It's all in there for me.
Nice.
You'll find it. Cool. It's fine.
All right, you two. This is a lot of fun. Appreciate both of you. Come back on Friday and check out our top 10 debates. We will see you all then.